Very good afternoon to all who are present today. I, Abhirupa Bhagari, on behalf of ISB&M Kolkata, welcome you all to this topical webinar on career aspirations. We'll look at what it takes to be managers of tomorrow. We have with us in our panel two esteemed personalities. Mr. Sadhan Bhattacharya, the head of learning, training and development, Johnson & Johnson, Southeast Asia. We also have with us our founder president, Dr. Pramod Kumar, an eminent educationist whose guiding principles is to empower students to build successful careers for themselves. I now request our director, ISB&M Kolkata, to please introduce the guest.
Thank you, Abhirupa. It's my indeed pleasure to be here along with Mr. Bhattacharya and Dr. Pramod Kumar. It's my privilege to introduce our first speaker for this webinar, Mr. Sadhan Kumar Bhattacharya. Sadhan is a alumni of Ranchi University and of course, IIM Calcutta. He's currently handling the talent, learning and development and training in one of the challenges vertical of Johnson & Johnson, South Asia. He is a professional coach. Apart from his training and development, he is responsible to create a world-class learning organization at Johnson & Johnson to drive capability across the organization and turn the function into a true business driver. He brings a unique blend of learning professional with a robust background in sales management, spanning over 25 years that helps him proactively engage and partner with business. He holds a Six Sigma for training effectiveness and evaluation. Before joining Johnson & Johnson, he led learning teams at Smiths Medical India and Merck, that's a German-based MNC. He is an active member of Association for Talent Development and Society for Human Resources Management. He regularly contributes to ATD's journal Talent and Development, International Coach Federation, Coaching World, and Ideas for Leaders, a global platform of academics as well as industry. Currently, he is penning down his first book on personal branding titled You Were Branded, to be published later this year. His other interests include blogging, tweeting, and social learning. As a professional, Sadhan strongly believes in and lives by the credo of a student never fails, a teacher might. Sadhan is married to Momita for 20 years and has a 19-year cute daughter, Trisha. His Twitter handle is @SadhanKB and a detailed profile can be viewed at in linkedin.com/in/Sadhan-ISM. So please welcome Sadhan Bhattacharya in this webinar. We welcome you on behalf of ISB&M.
Thank you, Dr.
Further proceed, I hand over to Abhirupa.
A very warm welcome to you, sir. It also takes us immense pride and pleasure to have Dr. Kumar with us, a PhD from IIT Mumbai. He has been the former director of Symbiosis Institute of Business, Pune. Before launching ISB&M, the institute which has touched lives of students and the future of students since its inception. He continues to be a consultant to over 80 companies worldwide. I think he needs no introduction, but it's our pleasure to have you with you, sir. I now request Dr. Sadhan Bhattacharya to please deliver his address to the audience.
Thank you, Abhirupa. Thank you, Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Pramod. Thank you for having me here today, speaking to your students. I guess the topic that we have chosen is quite a challenging one. The topic appears to be quite simplistic, so to say. The role for MBA students in corporates going forward. But that's one part of the whole topic. The moment you add a ligand to that called post-COVID, the entire scenario gets a different color. I kind of say, liken the idea somewhere I read last year when the pandemic started, that the world is no longer AD and BC, before Christ and Anno Domino. It's no longer that. Someone nicely coined it's before Corona, BC, and after Corona, AC. So I guess that really sums up a kind of a chasm that this global pandemic has brought on the human society at large, across globe. No country is untouched, by the way. And given this current scenario that we are all selling, it does make sense to see a little bit of future gauging, a crystal ball gauging if you wish, but that's going to be a very challenging and uncertain territory for all of us. It is going to be as much a challenge for the academicians, the practitioners like us in the industry, and most importantly, the students out here who are listening to us this afternoon. Needs to be told here that the changes that we thought possibly would take a decade and a half in the industry, cutting across different spectrum of industries, the entire transformation has been let loose on us in last 2 years' time. That's the pace of change and disruption we are talking. However, when you are sailing through a complex, a very chaotic scenario such as the one that we are passing through, there are certain fundamentals, there are certain philosophies, there are certain guiding posts which really guide us through all this madness. So to say, finding a method in the madness. And that's where I would kind of strike a very cautious balance for what the MBA curriculum or any for that matter higher studies so far used to be. Is that going to stay relevant in the years to come? And if there is any need for any transformation, what are those agenda of transformation that would look like? And hence I said there has to be a cautious balance that has to be struck between what has really worked with us for so many decades, ever since the advent of professional management curriculum, and what's going to transform in the years to come. First, let me talk about the first piece. What are those strong pillars based on which peer-reviewed academic curricula have always been set? And I think I'll not be the very competent person to talk about the rigor of the academic programs, how are those arrived at. I think Dr. Pramod, Dr. Ghosh would be a better candidate to comment on those. But whatever we know, those are based on robust pedagogical foundations. We all know in the corporate world that adults learn very differently. The learning for adults, what we know as andragogy, is very different from pedagogy. Adults do learn out of their sheer motivation, their space and time relevance. Given these unique challenges of adult learning, the kind of curricula that we have seen over the years, which have made millions of professionals successful, are those going to still remain valid in the post-pandemic world? My answer unequivocally would be yes, with a cautious caveat. Most of the strong foundationals that you will find at your institute, ISB&M, you will find that will be sustained through the decades of legacies in academics. Those will continue, whether it is operations, whether it is sales, whether it is marketing, advertising, human resources, strategy, leadership. All these domains of management education will continue to stay there. even post-pandemic. However, there would be subtle changes which we need to put into practice, because that's exactly what we'll be talking going forward. Make no mistake that you will still continue to have a human resource curriculum. You will have still financial management. You will have strategic management. You will have marketing. All these will continue to be there. What will change, looking at this curriculum through the lens of disruption that we are witnessing in the last 2 years' time. So my take would be, prima facie, the entire business perspective and the landscape that will continue to evolve post-pandemic would definitely call for robust academic rigor that a sound MBA program does bring in, whether it is providing the students with a wide variety of perspective, opportunity to network with peers in the real time. We'll talk a little more on that, how that has been already impacted, and who knows it better than you students. Apart from those, we will also continue to have strong academia and industry interfaces that will work for you going forward because of opportunities of working on live industry relevant projects. So those are some of the very strong strong favoring points going forward, even post pandemic world, for the structured academic curriculum, such as an MBA. In my personal opinion, an MBA does a couple of robust favor to the students. First and foremost, it does provide and open up a broad perspective, looking at the same objective from different perspectives, which otherwise you might be bereft of. So a particular business problem from the angles of a financial management perspective, a marketing perspective, a human resource perspective might look very different. It's something very similar to a kind of, say, touching an elephant by those 10 proverbial blinds. They all described the elephant in a very different and unique ways of theirs. However, when you piece together, you really get that jumbo animal. Similarly, when you attack a business problem from these different streams, whether it is human resources, whether it is financial management, whether it is marketing management, whether it is strategic management, you are piecing together the same very objective in different lenses. And that's the reason I said in the beginning, when you pursue a strong academic curricula, such as an MBA, a full-blown MBA, you have an opportunity to network with your peer-based learners, and that's where you learn the most. We all know about the principles of learning. If you do a bit of research after this conversation today on how do adults learn, you will find that most of the learnings happen on the job, project-based work. To the extent we have got in the industry some reference called 80%. We call it adult learning, different avenues. 80% learning happens through your live project work, experiences on the job. Some 20% happens through peer-based networking. That means learning from your peers and networks, what you call exposure. So the first one was experience, the second becomes exposure, somewhere close to 20%. And only just 10% of learning, real life learning, happens through formal tuition. So when you talk about 10% learning through classroom-based curriculum, you are leaving wide open a solid 90% for factors which you need to factor in even pursuing MBA. So when you are in 8 hours or 9 hours schedules of academic rigor every day, almost 5-6 days a week, beyond those hours, you need to have strong networking opportunities, which a strong and reputed MBA curriculum definitely encourages to pursue, peers-based learning. And then when you get those campus placement opportunities, work on live projects based on certain semester-based requirements for credits, you get those great opportunities to learn from the real world problem solving. So in my opinion, to sum up, before I go to the second section, what needs to change, before I go there, let me sum it up that whether it is pre-COVID or post-COVID world, you still have got a solid business case for having robust academic curricula such as your MBA. So make no mistake, it will continue to be there as a solid professional or higher education avenue. So congratulations to most of you who have already enrolled for the programs. You are already set for your due course. Compliments. Now let me turn over to the next phase. When I said that most of the fundamentals of a rigorous MBA curriculum will continue to play their part, I also made that with a subtle caveat. Like most of the affairs in our personal lives, social lives, political lives, or professional lives, which COVID required us to recalibrate. We have been hearing these phrases since the last 16, 17 months that life has been rebooted. Life, maybe I kind of say with an alarming rate, I hear these in the industry and academic circles that life has been rebooted. We have been reimagined for our work. These are very lofty words, but behind those lofty words, there are real challenges that they intend to solve. So what are those reimagination, if you will, for the academic rigor of an MBA? That's where I have been contemplating for some time. And it's not about just a plain academic rigor that I'm talking and discussing this afternoon. I've been working with some of the thought partners. What changes future of work is also bringing upon us, which is further accentuated and accelerated by the COVID. And that's where I kind of see there is a need for both academics, the professional sphere such as organizations, to recalibrate, reposition, repurpose, reimagine, and whatever you have got with a prefix called re. So if you are all set for an academic rigor of an MBA, a full-time MBA of 2 years, my provocative question to all of you, please spare some quality time on this question. Having achieved, successfully completed your MBA curriculum, what is that one single life's purpose that you are going to resolve? By the way, I introduced just now one more terminology and phrase called purpose. Let me bring the meaning for all of you. If you are a student, for me, talking it from say very far remotely, the meaning of a curriculum for a student should be how he can make sense of the environment, the society, the family that he or she lives in. What is the meaningful contribution that as a student you are going to make to your family very immediately, to yourself, to your family, to the broader society that you live in? And then hopefully when you enter into the corporate world, what you are going to bring change. And that would be known by your signature. What is that change that you are bringing to the table? That's your life's purpose. For example, let me define my own life purpose. As a professional, I define my life's purpose as to be a successful professional who encourages others, means people and organization, to explore their true potential and help them live through that potential. That's my life's purpose. Similarly, I ask each of you, as you start stepping into the MBA curriculum, start working on your life's purpose. What's that thing that you are going to achieve beyond achieving your academic success? What it will do This will stay you rooted in times of adversities and calamities and pandemics of the world. And mind you that we are all saying that this is not going to be the last pandemic, unfortunately. There are numerous disruptions which lay ahead, but if you figure out what is your deeper meaning and purpose as a student, you will do a great service to yourself as a human being and then as a professional that you will be in future. The second, besides the hard skills that an academic rigor such as an MBA teaches you, for example, analytical skills, the technical skills, the financial acumen, these are all hard skills. I would also like to encourage you, students, and of course, you will be supported by your esteemed institution as well in this journey, to integrate life skills, what people otherwise call soft skill. Personally, I don't believe there is anything called hard or soft skills. Beyond your domain related knowledge, which are mostly referred to as hard skill, I categorize rest of them as life skills. So try to acquire, as you build your academic rigor, try to acquire your life skills. What are those life skills? Anything and everything that involves interaction between two or more human beings is what I will call life skill. So for me, communication, as I'm speaking to you remotely this afternoon, this is my one of the life skills of communication. Negotiating with others, virtually or face to face, is another life skill that you would be required in heavy doses going forward, besides your domain related skills or hard skills of MBA. So at this point in time, I will take a pause and see if Dr. Pramod or Dr. Ghosh has any comments to offer to what I just started with, because I tried to speak what will continue to work for the strong fundamentals and rigor of academic curriculum of MBA, and what needs to be relooked into different perspective, even if you are pursuing an MBA, and how do you integrate both of these. So I stop here and offer any comments if both of you or either of you have got to make.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. That was indeed very insightful. In fact, a lot of the points that you explored in your speech is going to be explored further through the interview, the question and answer session that we have shortly after. Before we go into that, I would request Dr. Kumar to please address the audience for a short while.
Sure. I think some very meaningful and interesting points and observations and thoughts that Sadhak you shared, and I must compliment you. Very, very thoughtful, very insightful. And I'll come back to some of those at some point later. Like Sadhak said, the business is MBA is going to stay. See, business skill will stay because business will stay. Okay, we can never visualize a world now anymore where we will not talk about businesses, we will not talk about economy, and we will not talk about lifestyles, and we will not talk about well-being of people. And another important thing that we need to keep in mind, let's understand this. It becomes much more challenging because with the growing competitiveness on the other side, it was pre-COVID, it's post-COVID, and I'm sure it is also there during COVID. Okay. Now, I mean, let's say the simplest example of competitiveness, that the pharmaceutical company which is delivering its COVID shield, before COVID, when they were in the early stages of COVID, when they were working on this, they talked very, very low priced medicine. And visualizing that there were 20 companies, 50 companies in the world who are equally working on it, not knowing who will launch first, who will launch second, and so on. And when we got stuck into only 2 vaccines in India, the vaccine that was supposed to be $2, $3 in or 250, 300 rupees in India now has jumped to 400, and for anyone using privately has jumped to 900 and 1000 rupees. So anyway, competitiveness in business is going to remain. Business is going to remain. Business processes are going to remain, and competitiveness is going to remain. Let's also understand one of the barometers of our well-being. I mean, how we are as a society is what is the size of our economy? What is the size of our economy? And given that size, at what rate are we growing? Now, obviously, pre-COVID size was very different. Post-COVID, there has been shrinking of economies, and at one point we were talking about how certain economies have been minus, negative on growth. And if I recall, India was at one point in time minus 23, below the benchmark. We, as soon as the first lockdown was removed, some businesses were allowed. We have gone on above we are no longer minus. We are no longer minus. We recovered 23 points overnight very, very quickly. And it remains a big concern because it drives the well-being of society. So no matter what you want to do, you need resources, right from the employment to the people to the other resources for their own well-being. So then, of course, third issue which has been in focus, I mean, corporate social responsibility has always been a matter of debate. I'm sure Sadhak at some point in time might want to make some observations on that, but it is going to get a lot more focused. A lot more focused, probably maybe it wasn't such a big obsession pre-pandemic, but has become a bigger obsession post-pandemic for both businesses and much more to society and the governments. Now, when we look at any educational program, okay, and at least that's how we approach it in ISB&M, in the International School of Business and Media. For us, education comes first. Certification of that MBA, that education, which is what is your degree, which is what is your diploma, which is what is your grade sheet, okay, comes second. So if you've not learned, these certificates have no value. Okay, you can have, I mean, that's why we see today, we keep talking about how employability capability rate is very poor. People have degrees, people have diplomas, but employability rate is very poor. Now that happens because we lose our perspective on it, both as teachers, schools, and also equally students. In our zeal to ensure that we have 80% or 90% or CGPA as the highest or whatever, we get so focused on exams and assignments that process of the learning it takes a back seat. The objective by itself becomes the grade sheet, not the process of learning. Now, obviously we look at an ISB&M at it differently, that look, objective of the learning must be achieved. Grade sheet will anyway happen. Grade sheet will anyway happen because if you're learning, I'm sure in your assessment you should be able to do in a manner that your grade sheet looks good. 1, 2. Is your learning driven by a purpose? What you are learning? What is included in your learning process? On one hand, and two, is your assessment evaluating your learning? Or is your assessment evaluating something that you have written on a sheet of paper? So both. What are you learning? That becomes one important parameter, and how you get assessed becomes another important parameter. And so when it comes to what you are learning, we always look at it in two components. Two parts. Part one, you must learn some information-based thinking. So you must learn information. So if you are saying market, then I must understand how will we evaluate a market, what information will make me understand market. Okay, if I'm talking cost, then what information is cost, or if whatever, or if I'm talking value, what information will make us understand value. So that's one side of the learning side. The information, the concepts, the theories, the models, the different parameters. And let me emphasize to you that all learning that we go through may or may not get translated into action in business process. Some gets translated into action in business process. Some may not get translated into business process. But all learning makes us wiser. It enables us to think better with information. So let's say if we studied in geography in 6th standard, we never ask ourselves, what are we going to do with geography? But look at today. We're talking, using entire geography for your Google Maps and all across. So maybe our evolution of the methods of using information, methods of using learning, in sometimes is rapid, is very fast, sometimes is very slow, but definitely also at times it is. It may not be there at all. It may be just insightful. I may be just more intelligent, and so that's one important part of the learning curriculum, that information, concepts, theories, models. Second important part of the curriculum, which Sadhan just talked about quite a bit, and is the individual who is going to deliver this learning into and translate it into action. So all my analysis, all my information I must be able to turn it into a plan of action, workable plan. Now, that is where comes individuals' own capabilities. So, be it our drive to turn things into an action plan, be it our ability to think through complex situations and ask ourselves how to turn it into an action plan. Okay. And so that's another important part. Very important, we must understand that an excellent grade sheet that cannot think. If I have an excellent grade sheet, but I cannot think, I cannot create insightful plans, I can't turn something into result-oriented action, to me, is always like a showpiece in the drawing room, which keep looking at, it looks nice, is pleasing to the eye. People who walk into our home say, oh, very nice, very beautiful, and it has no role beyond that. It has no role beyond that. It doesn't serve us anything. So that's one side versus the application tool. So you have your kitchenware that may look as beautiful or may not look as beautiful, but serves you well. Okay, so you need to blend the two together in the management learning process. You know, when I think MBA, and I've been in business schools ever since maybe almost last 30 years, maybe 26, 27 years, starting from my first job in Ahmedabad, then about a decade in XLRI as a professor, and then director of Symbiosis Institute and founder of ISB&M as a International School of Business and Media group of institutions. Now, they one very, very important lesson I've learned, and also into consulting where I work with more than 80 different companies. I've learned one important thing: it's a professional education, and in professional education, no matter whatever we learn, think, and must be created and translated into an action. And so that's one side, and the personal translating it into action also needs certain abilities, be it attitude, be it value system, be it drive and initiative, or be it their ability to take risk in decision making. You succeed, you fail. I always compare, when I think MBA education, I always look at a surgeon. I always look at a surgeon. As a user of a surgeon's expertise, do you ask a surgeon, were you a topper in your college? Do you ask that surgeon, were you a topper in the college? Or do you go look at the surgeon's professional reputation, the professional image? Imagine a surgeon who could have been a topper in the college, and when you want this gentleman to operate some of your near and dear ones, he says, look, when I operate on the table, I get nervous seeing blood. Will you want him to operate your near and dear ones? A surgeon who says, I get nervous when I operate because I can't see blood, I can't tolerate blood. So the whole process of evolving as a professional. So can I have a good surgeon who doesn't understand physiology, who doesn't understand different technical sides of medicine, and can we accept a surgeon who gets nervous? No. So we need someone who has knowledge, who has information, who can deal with knowledge and information, and can calibrate this knowledge and information to every unique situation that I'm going to deal with. Every unique and new situation that I'm going to deal with on one side. And has the ability, personal disposition, be it emotional, be it interpersonal, be it communication, be it risk-taking, all of it together to be able to execute that effectively, efficiently, and for a value to the user, to a client. So in case of a surgeon, the client is the patient and his family. And in case of business, the client is every user of the product who wants to buy and procure that service. Business education cannot be learned like you mug up history. It can't be like you mug up history and write in the exam. It will have to be coupled with the thinking processes where you learn how to create action plans, how to convert my thoughts into action plan. You know, Sadhan is from pharmaceutical industry. Let me share with you. You could probably later share more on it because you will know much more than I do. Okay, how much money gets invested in pharma R&D? and billions of dollars get invested in pharma R&D, and of all the research, just 35% research turns into a sellable product, turns into a usable medicine and sellable products. So, so shall we say, okay, it's suboptimal researching? Shall we say, no, researching and so much knowledge is of no value? No, we will have to always do it. We'll have to always do it. Maybe we will use 30% of that knowledge, we will use 25% of that knowledge, we will use 40% of that knowledge. But if we are able to use to create value, that is an important element in education process. So I think I'll stop here and I'll look at some maybe questions, some observations, some things that other panelists might want to say. But important thing I would like to summarize as in a professional education, the knowledge, information, and perspective is important, and equally important is doability of it, actionability of it, and abilities, skills and abilities to translate into an action plan. Both are equally important in any professional education.
Thank you, sir. That was wonderful, actually. The bridge between knowledge and the applicability of it. How in an MBA program, especially, both are extremely important, and it actually connects to what Mr. Bhattacharya had said earlier, experience, exposure, and formal learning. In fact, all the three have to club together to get a good manager. The house is now open for a question and answer, but before we begin that, I would like to remind our participants that please refer to the link that has been posted in the chat box right now. This link will help you to get enrolled for a certificate. I would request, before you leave the session today, please fill in the details for us to be able to send you the certificates. The first question that was there for the session is, interestingly, already a lot of it has been answered by both Dr. Kumar and Mr. Bhattacharya, but I would still like to pose it if anyone of you would like to add anything to it, or if not, then we will proceed to the second question. My first question was, does an MBA program prepare a manager, a student, a budding manager to face unpredictable, unprecedented challenges such as the COVID that we face now?
If I can answer, I think in the chat box they're saying they've not got the link. So maybe whoever is handling it, please see that they get the link. They are asking for where.
Yeah, we are retyping. We are retyping the link again.
Okay, okay. Sorry, go ahead, Abhirupa.
Right. So I was just saying that we were talking about the pre-COVID and the post-COVID world, and how they are going to be different, and how a lot of things. I mean, I'm glad Mr. Bhattacharya had assailed a lot of the anxieties of the MBA aspirants by saying that a lot of MBA programs that's already existing will still be valid and still be very much in demand for the future by the corporates. But my question, although I'm saying that a lot of it has been already answered, but any of you, if you like to add to it, please tell me. Otherwise, I'll go to the second question. Does an MBA program prepare a student to handle unprecedented or unpredictable crisis? Mr. Bhattacharya or Dr. Kumar, would you like to add to that?
Sure, Virupa. I think the answer to your question would be a resounding yes. Of course, a rigorous and a formal management education does prepare a candidate for the real life scenario. But as I mentioned, it comes with a slight caveat. If we solely rely on one piece that is called education, in my framework, what I said, I talked about 3 E's. One is education, 10%, exposure, 20%, and experience, 70%. So this is the usual anatomy of learning, which Dr. Kumar was referring to. Don't only acquire knowledge, learn, make that knowledge turn into a learning which you can utilize subsequently in real life settings. That's what learning does. Knowledge by itself does not get translated into application. It has to sink in as a learning. That's the reason knowledge does not equate wisdom. Knowledge with rigor of experience turns someone wise. That's why I say the 3E: education, exposure, experience. I would definitely encourage all the students to follow that rigor of academics, which is education, yet at the same time, remain collaborative, network with your peers within the country, outside, because thanks to technology, the world really has shrunken in. So network, build your own brand as a learner, because nowadays we are seeing increasing number of students having robust LinkedIn profiles, which was not even thinkable 5 years back. But nowadays we see final year students have a very impressive LinkedIn presence, Twitter presence, Instagram presence. Why? You are bits and chunks building your reputation. That precisely my book is going to talk about. You are branded, because every one of us is capable of creating and crafting and nurturing our own personal brand. And that's the reason I say, while you pursue rigor of academics, do not take your sights off from exposure, peer collaboration, networking. And the third piece is volunteer and grab those opportunities for real life case-based learning, project-based learning. The more you engage yourself on those besides your academics, you will be valued more by the industry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya. That's great. That a very good, sum up or the bullet points. You elaborated on the importance of an MBA program to face unprecedented challenges. I believe, Dr. Kumar, if you would like to add to it, or should we proceed to the next question? Dr. Kumar, you're on mute.
Sir, you have to unmute. Because
Yeah. No, I think a very insightful observation made by Sarthak.
Right.
We can proceed to.
So, Virupa, you can go for second question.
Yeah. Right. So very interesting, Mr. Bhattacharya, that our institute has a lot of these opportunities to network not only with peers but with industry people as well. We have different cells like the placement cells and different other cells where it is completely run by students. We empower students to run these cells as their own. They take a lot of initiative and enterprise and do the networking. So when they enter the corporate world, they have already practiced a lot of what you were talking about today. It's great to have a validation from you, sir. The next question is actually a link to that. So these are the stuff that you said, that MBA, the importance of MBA program, how that helps a young talent to build a corporate career in the corporate world, and a lot of it that you have said is also incorporated. Anything else that you would like to say on that? Anything that you think you were talking about? Very interestingly, you were talking about, what would be the future trends of MBA programs that, as an industry person, you would like to see. If you could elaborate on that. And sir, Dr. Kumar, it is also directed to you, sir, as an educationist, as our founder president. What is your vision, sir, for the future?
I'll follow Sadhan. Go ahead, Sadhan.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Kumar. As I mentioned, I will build on what I initially said, because the theme is pretty straightforward. You have the body of rigorous academic curricula, which will continue to serve you well. Of course, from time to time, there are changes, there are feedback from the ecosystem, from the industry, from peer-reviewed academics and institution. And accordingly, you keep on revamping, reinvigorate your curriculum. That's the central piece of it. What I see is going to be very kind of say incumbent of any management institution or university to collaborate in real time with the industry and organization, and most importantly with the society that we live in. Because like the organizations or companies, institutions, academic institutions also don't exist in void. They're part of societal ecosystems. So the social narratives, whether it is of diversity, equity, inclusion, cannot bypass education system as well. Otherwise, we will be far removed from the realities. And hence, my two-piece suggestion: while you constantly guard your core of the academic curriculum very keenly, I'm sure there are mechanisms, because I'm no academician and hence I'll not comment on that. But I would guess that there are mechanisms, there are checks and balances which keeps the curriculum relevant, stay in the moment with the current realities. But besides that, please do encourage students by way of your additional curriculum credits or stretched assignments or industry projects. Please do educate them on these emerging societal topics as well. Never ever in the history of humankind we have heard much about diversity and inclusion as we are seeing today, partly thanks to the global media. But then that's the reality. Are we equipping our students to be mindful about these emerging topics? At corporates, we are talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion like never before. We have got different employee resource groups, different support groups, just to make sure that we support length and breadth of our employee segments. Similarly, students, besides their academic rigors, must also be encouraged and supported by institutions to follow these emerging trends, which are in a way mostly are brought in by the organizations and enterprises. But I would also like to see academics and institutions playing the role of a catalyst to sensitize the student about these pressing challenges.
Wonderfully said, Mr. Bhattacharya. Indeed, very important points out there. Inclusion, diversity are extremely becoming emerging trends and catch points where we need to focus even more during times ahead. So, Dr. Kumar, I would now request you to share your vision for tomorrow.
Sure. As we see the future, one important thing we should consider is there will be no space for menial jobs. So you have a good skill quality, or else there'll be technology doing the job. Okay. So going forward, if you look at, for example, manufacturing process, industry probably at one time, company which at one time employed 20,000 people to manufacture certain things, probably are manufacturing with 200 people now. Okay. Or if you look at similarly in the sales and advisory services. Now with rampant usage of technology, so and e-commerce, they're saying that, okay, nobody is going to come and sell to you. Just go online and buy what you want to buy. Okay, so the frontline low level, low skill operating jobs will go. workplaces will be more open to a high skill and intellectual, uh, uh, intelligent operations, intelligent thinking jobs. Okay. So in an environment like this, either you're talented and you have a career, or you're not there. You're not there. Okay. And this is going to happen much more post-COVID. Because one thing that COVID did to the whole world is taught them user technology. You see, you look at the payment gateways. I mean, look at the technology based usage of banking. You look at the same thing and the rate at which it was growing pre-COVID, and look at what has happened today. So almost everyone, I mean, and that has, I mean, today's technology is such, user based technology is such that you don't need a formal education. You don't need a formal education to use technology. You know, you give a 5-year-old baby your mobile, let them fiddle with it. You wouldn't be able to realize what all they will do on your mobile phone. Okay, so all kinds of simple, simplistic, and the jobs that are not very high on a skill level, they would go. Okay, so you will have to be very specialized technical job fellows, or you will have to be a managerial leadership talent. Leadership talent. I mean, there's no space for a record keeping guy when you're doing everything online and you're dumping all your online data into your data system. Okay, so this is one important change, and that is going to happen. The future for you is, if in managerial roles, evolve into leadership roles. And evolve faster than later. You say you're not living in a world where if you became a manager and a senior manager and you're 50-year-old, if that happens to you, you have no future. Your career is over. Your career is dead. I mean, today you are living in a world where by the time they're 37, 38 to 40, 45, they're directors and vice presidents. Okay. So if you aren't getting there, this was true of older generation, where people took 10 years to become a branch manager, 15 years to become a branch manager and a senior manager. All that is going to be history. Of course, there will be very rewarding future. Of course, there will be very, very rewarding future. I mean, I can share with you that hundreds and hundreds of alumni of ISB&M itself, or several others who have taught in XLRI or Symbiosis, and hundreds of them. Look at the wealth. Look at their wealth. Look at their lifestyle. And they are 36, 37, 40, 41. Driving fanciest of the cars, be it an Audi or be it a Jaguar or whatever and whatnot. So of course it's a rewarding future. It's a very, very rewarding future for talented. And it's going to be a struggle for suboptimal. So if you're talking about, let's say, how people lost their job during COVID, who lost job? Did the most talented. I'm sure Sadha could be the right person to share with you. Did companies, if they did ask people to leave, which they did people who are very talented, did they have to leave? Or those who were very average or below average talent, they had to leave? You know, you have only one choice in your entire process of development. Be a commanding talent. Be a commanding talent. Be a talent that stays in demand. Be a talent that stays in demand. Okay.
Thanks, sir. I think that's a very good, all the points that you said are extremely important. That, there's no place for complacence in this new world. You have to upskill and reskill yourself to stay in demand as a manager on one hand. On the other, you have to be a relationship manager. You have to have the ability to connect, to include, and to be empathetic to others. So those are the two extremely important anchors that are going to be the way forward. They're going to be the two most important dynamics of the future. Taking a cue from that, this question is directed exclusively towards Mr. Sadhan Bhattacharya. So what do you think are the opportunities that are going to be available for management graduates as they enter into a corporate world?
I think there are the usual suspects of the business streams that you teach them, whether it is finance, whether it is marketing, whether it is strategy, whether it is human resources. So those are the broad spectrum avenues for pursuing immediate career. One of the elements that is emerging very fast in academic circles is entrepreneurship. So most of the premier schools, they do have got curriculum on entrepreneurship, because India happens to be among the top 5 entrepreneurial ecosystem across the globe. So naturally, the demand for entrepreneurship for most of the emerging students would be of high demand. So these are the beaten tracks. Having said that, no matter which track you follow, whether you are a student of marketing management or human resource management, my suggestion to have a couple of behavioral traits. First and topmost among them being the right kind of attitude, because organizations hire for attitude, not for aptitude. They've got loads of resources to train on aptitude later on. That's the reasons corporate functions such as learning and development, training, the domain-specific training, all these are there. But what really organizations look for the potential recruitee is the right kind of attitude and value system that will align with the organizations, because every organization have got their unique value, sets of value, what we call the mission and purpose. For example, at Johnson & Johnson, we have got a legendary document called Our Credo. I strongly encourage all of you who are part of this webinar today to go and Google something called Our Credo, Johnson & Johnson. It's a document which has stood the challenge of time for past 78 years. 78 years, one document which has, beyond being a document, it's what we call a living and breathing guidepost for all of Johnsonians across 138,000 across the world. It has got primary 4 components, 4 elements. One, it talks about the customers, basically the doctors, nurses, the patients. Then it talks about employees, all 138,000 of us. It talks about community that we operate in, that is number 3. And lastly, and that's purposefully done, is shareholder. It's not the other way around. We don't start with shareholder. It starts with customer whom we serve through our products, through our solution, through our services. And then we prioritize our own employees. Then the broader society that we operate in, and then comes the financial stakeholders such as shareholders. So that's our value systems, that's our purpose, that's our mission. So if I want to hire any one of you, definitely my technique would be to figure out how you fit into our corporate value system. Are those aligned? And hence, apart from pursuing different streams of curriculum, uh, and of course your own interest in whether you want to be a finance guy, please do also look for your own life's values. That's precisely what I was talking at the very beginning. Once you support your hard skills, the academic rigor, with these life skills such as beliefs and values, you come as a complete package to the organizations. That would be my two-piece, Avirupa, though it might go a little nebulous at times,
No,
but
no,
then we are sailing through because it's not black and white anymore. If we consider personal life or working life as to be black and white, it would be a very wrong way to look at it. It's increasingly getting shades of gray in between.
completely. And
That's the reason hardcore, yeah.
with the work from home scenario, I believe the blend has become even more prominent these days. So you are actually working from home. So your personal life and your professional life are physically also getting blended together in this current scenario. And we have been successfully able to handle that and hope to be able to better do that in days to come. Sir, with your vast experience in the domain of training and development, having led and actually leading still the vertical of training, learning, and development in such a reputable company such as Bhattacharya of Johnson & Johnson, and plus you were talking about your life's purpose is to actually see the employees reach their fullest potential. That's incredible, I think, as a credo to live by. From that, if you could talk about the competence development programs that are relevant in the current context.
So, Avirupa, being an organization which is almost 139 years young, we have to really offer our employees constant and evolving avenues to seek their own potential, explore and understand their latent potential, and then work towards realizing that. And that's precisely what my function and my team does. And in doing so, we do have got well-established framework and philosophy of supporting our employees across different hierarchical levels, whether it is C-1 level to even the new recruits. So for example, someone who onboard us, they undergo a strict 180 days onboarding curriculum. For a manager which is onboarded from external talent pool or internally promoted, we have got a curriculum supporting formally for 90 days. And these numbers are just formal. It goes much beyond that informally on an ongoing basis. So basis which hierarchical level you are in the organization, we have got robust learning pathways for all of you. Apart from the structured learning programs, which we call part of learning journeys, we do employ, as we mentioned in the beginning, a framework known as 3E and I. 3E, as I have repeated, let me repeat one more time. It's education, that is formal programs that we talk about, whether it is about a domain related program, whether it is a leadership development program or anything else. These are your formal education. Then comes the exposure. We strongly recommend and our employees to find their own mentors and reverse mentors even. So mentoring is a big part of our learning schedules. Then that's exactly what you talk about, working on the second piece of exposure. And third piece is on the grind. So people are given stretched project goals, stretched assignments. We have got a very robust talent mobility platform or philosophy internally. So we keep on churning and kind of say revolve our talents across different businesses, different positions. For example, a sales manager might be based on his or her interest can be rotated for a stint of 6 months to 1 year's time into strategy, into human resources, into brand management. So those cross-functional learning opportunities, these are all formal. And then comes an ecosystem of informal learning, where we strongly utilize various digital learning resources from our learning partners. LinkedIn Learning, TED at Work. These are some of the examples which we very regularly utilize for our employees. So while we do all this formal, informal breadth of ongoing capability and competency development, we are strongly guided by a digital first learning ecosystem. So each of our associates, no matter which level you are, you have got an enterprise, a series of enterprise-based digital learning assistants or app-based programs which will continuously be your company throughout the day. And it's an ongoing, based on which we have got robust dashboard which are created and shared with the line managers, so that they can track and check and evaluate their ongoing team's ongoing learning progress. So these are some of the formal, informal ecosystems and pathways through which we support our employees. But yes, we don't rely only on the formal education. We strongly bring in the peer-based, the network-based learning and project-based learning.
Thank you so much, and it gives us great pleasure to know that learning is integrated into the organization culture. And on that, I would like to direct my last question to you, Dr. Kumar. Dr. Kumar, at ISB&M, we have been fortunate to have raised several global corporate leaders over the decades, thanks to your groundbreaking and obviously, very new ways of innovative methods of education. So would you kindly, in a nutshell, share those secrets or those mantras, the USP of ISB&M?
Okay. Okay, I think I'll make a couple of observations on this, but what I'll suggest you, Avirupa, I think there's some interesting questions by participants. Okay.
Right.
So, see, one important mantra for me about culture is that you see there is a lot that we learn from the way we live, our life. Okay, so in ISB&M we definitely look at, as you study in ISB&M, re-engineering the way you live. Okay, re-engineering the way you live. See, I've been a student of psychology, so and in that there are three things fundamental. So thinking, mental processes, thoughts, beliefs, and all those, your emotions, and your action. Any normal functioning human being, they are all interrelated. So if you think one way and you feel strongly about it, you go and do it. Okay. So since these three are integrated, so you can change any of the three, others will change. So let's say if you change the way people dress up, their mindset will change. Okay, their emotions will change. So we re-engineer the way they act, the way they do certain things, and in the process, we obviously develop entirely new mindset, which is very productive for them for the future. Okay, so that's very quickly, very short answer to that, but I think there are interesting questions by the
Yes.
Yes, yes. Thank
participants.
you very
So,
much. And I think that sums up in one line is when you enter ISB&M, you are someone else. And then when you graduate, you become an MBA from ISB&M, you are a re-engineered better version of yourself. I now request Dr. R.S. Ghosh to please address the question or direct the questions from the
Yeah.
audience. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Abhirupa. I'm referring those questions to our two esteemed panelists, Mr. Sadhan Bhattacharya as well as Dr. Pramod Kumar. The first question raised by an anonymous, no name. Would you please share how much impact will our graduation learning PG program?
how much impact? How much impact?
How much impact will our graduation learning PG program? Means he wants to transfer from graduation to post graduation.
Oh, okay. Uh, one, see, truly speaking, very low. Truly speaking, very low, because somebody does electronics engineering and decides to do MBA finance. So I don't know how electronics engineering in graduation will translate into finance. Okay, so truly speaking, very low, and that's why you see an MBA program does not really have such a prerequisite. That's why you see you can do English literature and you can do in your graduation and can be and you can be very good finance graduates. Okay, as long as your abilities are in place. Okay, so the knowledge of what you studied in graduation really doesn't have a lot of impact on it, but some courses, if you have done in graduation, let's say if you have done economics in graduation, obviously you can be in your class and say, oh, I'm smarter than others because I understand economics better than the other guys do. Or if you have done a BCom, so you say, oh, I understand accounting, so I don't need to learn accounting. Or if you are from engineering graduate and you say, oh, I understand Microsoft Office and other technologies, I pick up quickly or rather efficiently than some others do. So these are small little smartness quotient which are nice for the peer group,
Yes.
peer group management.
Yeah.
Though, let's say, for example, if you have a background in social sciences, especially sociology and psychology or law, and if you chose to do human resource management, it does help. It's quite helpful. Okay, it's quite helpful. But if you have not done it, then is that your drawback? Not really. Not really. So that's how it is. So some impact every knowledge has that you bring from graduation, but does that greatly influence your performance in your MBA program? No, it doesn't.
Mr. Bhattacharya, you would like to say anything here so that I can go to second questions? You have to unmute, sir. Yeah.
I think let's take the second question because
Yeah.
that was quite effective.
Yes. The second question again came from anonymous participant. Which is better, doing MBA right now or after 2 years of job experience?
I think again, I will go with a response that it's not either or. It's very contextual, situation specific, what you want to do. The question is what I want to do out of an MBA program. If it is for building my fundamentals on a particular stream, I will approach it immediately after my formal academics of say graduation or something. But if my requirement is to build on my professional experience and then add a bit of formal qualification on management, that's your choice. Having said that, let me also bring in the real life experience, what organizations look for. So if you come in with certain initial work exposures, for example, in sales, if you have gotten a work exposure in sales immediately after the formal graduation program, and then you go for a marketing MBA, or there are various sales management MBAs as well. I think that distinctively builds on your real life work experience. So very difficult to say in either or. I will refrain from saying that you should not first work for 2 years or 3 years and then you take your MBA program. It is very situation specific. So unless you have, I have got furthermore details about the candidate who is asking and his aspirations, I will refrain from giving a very categorical answer. Both have got their own merits.
Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Pramod Kumar.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See, I'll endorse what Sadhan is saying. You see, first important thing you must understand that 2 years doesn't bring out dramatic differences because you work for 2 years. Second important thing is, what did you work on? I mean, what was the nature of that work experience? If it is meaningful, then it has some value. Okay. But you could be a little more mature in the classroom compared to somebody who has not gone to the workplace. So of course you will have some maturity. Now, if the question is that does it become an advantage in MBA program or after the post MBA program? Not really, dear. It's not an advantage that gives you a great deal of advantage. Let's say if a recruiter shortlists 20 people, which has a few people with work experience, a few people without a work experience. Now at this stage, you are equal. At this stage, you are equal. If the guy without work experience outperforms you in the recruitment assessment process, they will not look at your work experience. But if the two are equal, let's say they perform equally good, if they perform equally good, then you will have an edge because you have some work experience. So unless you have a job that adds to your learning value, just a work experience doesn't do anything. Just some job, something, somewhere, it doesn't add value.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your kind address. So before going ahead to the next questions, there are so many messages coming through chat box. Yes, we sent 3 times the link for enrolling your certificates. So fill the form link, you just go through the link, fill details, the certificate will come there. Again, the questions we are getting, just for your attention, there's all attendees, participants. Yes, let the program get over. After completion of the program, it will take process and you will get the certificate soon. So my next questions, it has raised by Shivam Prajapati. In this pandemic situation, doing a MBA in online mode, is it okay?
Sadhan, want to talk on this?
Sir, you go ahead, please. You are better qualified to answer this.
Okay, sure. See, they online and offline, it doesn't matter. Okay. I think as far as if you are going to be starting MBA, then you should go ahead and enroll, because it is not going to be online all through. It is not going to be online all through. At the worst, and my observation, the worst scenario is, and the three months, after 3 months, you will be in the campus. Okay. And institutions will resort to a blended methodology, both online and offline. So I think choose institutions which are innovating on the methodologies of teaching, and it will be a blended methodology of online and offline. Okay. So for your future, it's not going to be complete online. I think in India itself, no more than next 2 to 3 months. 3 months later, as soon as we achieve about 40% vaccination, institutions will open. Sadhan, you wanted to add something?
Yes, just to add to what you have already said, I will echo by saying that in like most spheres of our life, things are going into hybrid. So the formal education will also evolve over the period in time. For example, even if campuses reopen, which I see a distinct feasibility and possibility and should be encouraged, as Dr. Kumar said, at the same time, I will still go ahead and enroll myself for some degree of massive open online courses, what we call MOOCs. For example, if I'm a full-time, say, financial management student, there are hundreds of online courses which are of, say, short duration from either Udemy or Coursera or any major online, because most of the universities and their MBA programs are going a hybrid model. There is a in-class, in-campus module, and then you have got a hybrid module or online module. So please do parallelly pursue to best of your capability. At times you might require to stretch even your physical resources in terms of putting in longer hours of academics, but that will pay you off rich dividend just beside your core in-campus program.
Thank you.
I'll just add one more thing to it. My recommendation to you is don't keep dropping in year by year and after year, because it is pandemic. You're wasting your time. Okay, you're wasting your time. I mean, couple of years lost in professional life and career in future can mean quite a lot. Okay, so don't waste your time on like that.
In fact, Dr. Kumar, sorry to intervene here.
Go ahead.
Because interestingly, there was an article in Financial Times sometimes in February this year, 2021. It was very interesting and provocative at the same time, that when we are sailing through some lean time or downtime in most part of the business activities, it is absolutely an appropriate time to upskill, reskill, and cross-skill your entire profile, so that when the market reopens to its normal scenario, even if that be a slightly different normal scenario, you are in a much better position to actually capitalize on those new skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think this pandemic has really given that opportunity to upskill, cross-skill yourself entirely.
Yeah.
For example, let me cite an example of a team member of ours in our marketing department, a very promising marketing manager. He enrolled into a very Ivy school digital marketing curriculum. And look and behold, in last 12 months' time, he has actually gotten into some additional franchises of work and responsibility on a global scale. So that's the power of upskilling yourself in this time.
Absolutely. I think
Thank you. Thank
there's
you.
a question, Ghosh, Dr. Ghosh. There's a question that says, does ISB&M accept any other exam other than CAT? We accept CMAT and MAT, both of them. CMAT is a AICT test, so obviously it's mandated to colleges to accept it. Okay, so we accept them both. Okay, so if you have those
CAT,
also, you can...
ZAT, CMAT, MAT, we all consider. That is a guideline. Next questions came from Mr. Anirvan. What is the key difference between finance management and marketing management in corporate career growth.
Insurance and marketing.
No, finance management and marketing management.
Finance and management. Okay. Sadhan, you want to talk about this? Finance and marketing.
I think the one which provides me the cash avenues and the one who actually is the recipient and builds the pipeline of product services, not only for the current but the future business requirements. So basically, one is kind of say resource hub for all financial activities, exploring strategic avenues for future growth. So a finance guy is stepping up the table in today's corporate world. He is no longer just an account keeping guy, what it used to be in the past avatars. But a finance guy is possibly is the second most powerful C-suite guy now, who has got full understanding of the business ecosystem, the regulatory environment, strategic blueprint. In fact, interestingly, Dr. Kumar, we are seeing there are a good number of finance professionals and operational professionals coming as human resource chief as well. So they have got the entire nitty-gritties of the operations of the organization. So that's your finance professionals evolving role, and marketing, which is much more very domain specific in terms of everything to do with product line conceptualization to bringing that into the market based on customers' need and secure the future business pipeline. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you.
I think as professional domains, they're different as early in career. They're different as a function. Of course, as you grow up in the leadership role, there is a lot of things that you need to do in terms of business in both of them. Okay, but at the entry point, early in career, marketing is about dealing with businesses and outside the company, which is client, customers, competition, management of competitiveness, brand management, managing entire distribution channel. If you are in a FMCG company, probably you have 500,000 retail outlets that sell your product. So how to handle the retail supply chain, and all those are issues will come in there. In finance, if you like many things Sadhan said about, if you're working within the company, then that's a separate one. But let's say, suppose you're having done finance, you want to join advisory services, financial advisory services. So be it a portfolio manager, equity research, or those areas. So that's altogether a different kind of career. You could also be in banking and financial services. Having done finance, if you have also capability in marketing, you can be on client side. You can be on client advisory role, client acquisition role. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. As a study domain, they are different, of course.
Thank you for Mr. Bhattacharya and Dr. Pramod Kumar for addressing the students. Yeah, there are two questions raised by one participant named Abhijit Mitra. First questions: will the changing size of economy affect the recruitment in different sectors or personnel with varying specialization? Kindly share. May I repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Will the changing size of economy affect economy affect recruitment in different sectors or personnel with varying specialization? Kindly share.
Okay. Sadhan, you want to talk about this? Or I could.
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. You say economic changes in job market, employment, and career can only is, uh, make demand for the professionals bigger or smaller. Okay, but it doesn't happen that there is no demand for professionals. So that is one thing that you must understand. You will always, whether economy is on the top of its performance or not, you will always have demand for professionals. Okay, when economy is doing very, very well, the demand is high. So company which is, let's say, recruiting, uh, uh, could be recruiting 100 management graduates, or versus they could be go down to recruiting 20. So if economy is doing very well, they will recruit 100, they will recruit 200. If the economy is not doing very, very well, they might go down to 20, 30, 10. But so that's one kind. And similarly, at every levels. So let's say demand for middle level changeover, demand for at all levels, the changeover opportunities will be greater and smaller, but they will always be there. Okay. So that's point one. Point two, if you're a beginner and if you're going to start MBA now, then this question is not very relevant for you, because economy is going to, please understand, economy is going to come back in a V-shaped curve. So like it has gone down, it is also going to bounce back. You know, sometime back in the beginning of part of my observation, I shared with you how India was minus 23 points. Okay, now India is in plus, and we overcame this within a few months. Within a few months. Okay, so if you look at the recent reports, I think latest report about industrial production is some 3, 4, 5, I don't remember exact figure, is higher than before. So it has already picked up. Now, there could remain little challenge in certain areas, like engineering industry still remains a challenge, and but all that will change in, something will change in 2 months, something will change in 6 months, something will change in 8 months. But will it take very long? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We are really working back on economy.
Thank you. Thank you, both the panelists, for answering in details. Yeah, here's another questions. Of course, it is a bit dicey. Abhijit, if I'm not mistaken your questions, he would like to get your experience that in our country, this is a graduation in basically in general discipline, somewhere, some university offer honors, limited number of papers. Now from there, suppose in his case, he wants to take admission in postgraduate program. So there are other streams like analytics, human resources, marketing management, operations. So whether is there any kind of effect from normal graduation to this specialization, that he wants to get your kind advice or attention.
Okay. Sadhan, can I address this question?
Mr. Bhattacharya, should Dr. Kumar starts, then you can give your opinion.
Yeah, please.
Sir,
because it looks like he's domain centric.
Okay. You see, if you are not a technical graduate, okay, it doesn't matter. You can do any of the programs, except for those which may have a technology, engineering input in it. Let's say, for example, a program in operations management and supply chain management. Now, obviously, it has a lot of technical side in it. It has a lot of forecasting models, planning and scheduling models, and all those kinds of stuff. So if you're not an engineering graduate, you will find it difficult. Let's say if you are a general science graduate, or if you are a commerce, arts, and so you'll find it difficult. And And please understand, you'll have to pass the course at least. Okay. So what happens if you fail in the course itself? Okay. Similarly, analytics. Ensure that you are good in mathematics. You may be any graduate, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what graduate are you, but ensure that you are good in statistics, mathematics. If you are frightened of mathematics, if you say, no, I don't like mathematics, not for you. Okay. So that's the only issue you need to evaluate in terms of will I be able to cope with the demands of that program? Okay. So that is. Now in operations management, let's say, for example, if you study operations management and there are services operations, or let's say retail operations. So that's not that's not engineering, but that all of these will involve issues like procurement, issues like forecasting, issues like uh, supply chain optimization. All of these will involve. So certain level of mathematics will be required for all of these. Okay. So you should be a little more proficient in these. Otherwise, you can do every course.
Yeah, Mr. Bhattacharya, you would like to say here something?
No, I would go by the strict expertise of Dr. Kumar here.
Okay. So we are, yeah, I think Abhijit, we have clarified your many things and I think you are happy. Next question raised by Ayushi Mehta. What do you think about starting as an entrepreneur post-COVID?
Go ahead, Sadhan. Yeah.
So if I heard the questions correctly, what do you think about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, entrepreneurship post-COVID.
I would say that entrepreneurship in India, in particular, had always been a buzzing and brewing thing in past 7 years, 6, 7 years. No wonder India sits very high on the entrepreneurial ecosystems, innovation ecosystems across the globe. What COVID has done is kind of say, open up newer avenues for entrepreneurs. For example, we couldn't have thought about an oxygen langer, though it is in time of crisis. But think about the jugaad mindset of all of us Indians, which came to the rescue of several hundreds of such patients deprived of oxygen in these trying times. This is an entrepreneurship. This is a kind of say missionary zeal with which those sick brothers came to the rescue of such people who needed. Similarly, since last 1.5, 2 years, we have seen ample opportunities, ample examples where entrepreneurs are those people who actually made those lucrative business and solutions out of crisis. For example, if you look into small time hotel chains, forget about the large branded corporate hotels such as the Marriotts and the Leelas of the world. If you look into the smaller hotel space, they have kind of say, due to crisis, they have evolved and morphed into very unrelated field as a support partner in healthcare industry. So they double up as an extension to some or the other hospital chains. So basically, this is a great example of making the most out of a crisis. And what propelled that? I guess the entrepreneurial mindset. More than any competency, it's the mindset of an entrepreneur who always try to look for opportunities out of the crisis. As they say, a crisis is a terrific thing to miss out as an opportunity. So I guess going forward, triggered by COVID, Indian entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial ecosystem will continue to evolve, and it is only going to get stronger and more vibrant and visible across the globe in the years to come. So yeah, COVID has kind of say played a role of a catalyst.
Thank you. So I think, Ayushi, we have clarified your doubts and the answer is clear from our panelists. The next questions came from Nikhil Manchandra. What all opportunities can we look for currently to help us post-COVID? I think it has delivered by both of you during the earlier questionnaires. Am I right, Mr. Bhattacharya?
Correct.
So Nikhil, this question is already raised by my colleague, Ms. Avirupa, and it has delivered by both the panelists. Okay, one question came from one participant, Majar Hussain. He has many issues. Okay, your certificates will be there. Let the program gets over. Again, we'll send the link. You fill and you will get the certificate. So Mr. Majar Hussain questions, MBA or PGDM, which is better for job? Which usually we address in GDPI every time. Okay, so I request Dr. Pramod Kumar, you can easily finish it.
Okay, it's one and the same. Okay, either stream of education is one and the same. Okay, if you just want to count the statistics, you'll see all the top performing institutions in jobs and career have been PGDM. So right, all the IIMs were PGDM before. XLRI was is PGDM. Narsing Mohanji, sorry, SPJN is PGDM. All, but that's more because they can update their curriculum with less of bureaucracy, whereas universities take a long time to update their curriculum and study program. But technically, both are the same things, and you have similar career opportunities in both. If it's a good learning institution, you learn good things, you learn equally well in both. PGDM only has advantage of flexibility and speed. Speed of revision of curriculum, speed of flexibility in revision of curriculum is very, very high in PGDM because the controls are less. I mean, there's only one controlling body, which is AICT. But in MBA, you have AICT also controls you, UGC also controls you, university also controls you. So it's, and then you have a state education department, they also control you. Okay. So because of that, it becomes very slow in terms of changing. Technically, both are the same things.
So Majar, you got your answer. Okay. So the flexibility, and of course, it is a blended curriculum. PGDM always gives some advantage.
Yeah.
The next questions came from one physiotherapist. Yes, Dr. Tarjani. She did her probably BPT, Bachelor of Physiotherapy. Now her questions after BPT, whether she will pursue HRM, Human Resource Management, or HHM in the professional career.
Sorry.
After BPT, 4.5 years, BPT program, she wants to pursue post-graduation in management.
Okay.
The first choice, will it be Human Resource Management or Hospitality and Hotel Management?
Sadhan, you want to say
Sorry,
something?
sir. I don't find myself very qualified to answer this.
See, when you do MBA program, see, before you join MBA program and after you join MBA program, there is a lot of change in outlook and understanding. So if you are looking at MBA program that gives you a lot of money, then hospitality and all, that's not a right industry. I mean, then you need to join Johnson & Johnson, okay, if you want a big money. So you need to go into manufacturing, I mean, consumer electronics, FMCG, you need to go into banking and financial services and likes of that. industry like hotel and tourism, and these are services which are, I mean, you won't have a company, let's say, which has 20,000 crore revenue in India or 15,000 crore revenue in India. So obviously, when they're these services, when they have a lower revenue base, obviously the cost, compensation and salaries are also lower. So it all depends on if you are looking at your MBA program and hoping that you will get big salary and big money, then obviously hospitality and hotel are not the right places.
Okay, she now made clarification actually. Her intention was, that was my thinking, the intention was either she will join in healthcare management or hospital management, hospital administration.
Either way, even hospital
Either.
and healthcare, either
Healthcare.
hospital and healthcare.
So
Not
you
very
have
high.
rightly addressed, sir. So
It's
Dr.
not very high.
Tarjani, you got your answer.
Please understand, a manager in a hospital is not equivalent of a cardiac surgeon. Okay, so please understand that. Okay, so it's not really. See, compensation and rewards are industry specific. Industry specific. So if you look at industry, top of the curve will be financial services. I mean, investment bankers and all these guys are very highly paid. Then your FMCG and consumer healthcare and so on. Then the services like hospital and healthcare services like travel tourism, these are at the lower end of the industry. So it's industry specific. Every industry can give you X volume of money as a reward, but not beyond. Okay, but not beyond. So you'll have to choose the right industry if you are wanting a lot of money.
Thank you, sir. So Dr. Tarjani, you got the answer. So there are two more questions. So one question again came from anonymous attendee. How is MBA IT compared to other specialization?
MBA?
IT, information technology. How is MBA IT? Earlier it was in the university affiliated system management. So now analytics came. MBA IT compared to other specialization.
Truly speaking, there is no such thing like MBA IT.
IT, yeah. So it is a wrong approach actually.
Okay. I mean, so some things like MBA IT, things like MBA biotechnology.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
I mean, all these are okay. Novel nomenclatures. Okay, that limits you to industry if you are doing MBA IT. So, and let's say, what did you specialize in? If you specialize in system management, then you might as well pursue technology as a career rather than MBA. Okay. But if you're doing, let's say, MBA IT and finally your specialization is marketing. Okay, finally your specialization. I mean, I know of institutions, okay, where the program is called MBA IT, program is called domain, I mean, a particular discipline is specific, but eventually they'll say, okay, you can specialize in marketing, finance, HR, whatever. So then the IT business has what meaning? Okay, it's just not something that got invented sometimes in late 90s to early 2000. Okay, because a lot of business schools came up and they all wanted to create some USP in that sense. So they came up with these nomenclatures.
Correct, sir. You are absolutely right. It is very old concept now.
It's very old concept.
Yeah. So the last question
is more or less dead also.
Yes, it's dead. It's obsoleted now because corporate never prefers. One question raised by again anonymous attendee. Are certificates of participation in conferences and paper publication helpful to build career profile? Kindly share something.
Yeah, Sadhan, you must talk about.
Yes, it is industry, how you consider.
I would strongly echo that it does help. It does help build an online reputation, your brand equity, what you call the personal brand. So every student needs to be aware about their personal brand as much as an employee must be aware about a personal brand. So participating through conferences, congresses, uh, presenting some white paper, presenting some kind of say poster presentation, uh, everything adds up to your repertoire. And this is not a one-time activity. You stay invested in this whole engagement process, and you realize that you have really created a kind of say, equity for yourself. I guess the digital has done a lot of help for us. It is a great leveler of that sort. So if you are interested to be known in a particular field of expertise, please do showcase your valid expertise on various channels that suits you. For example, if you really want to be a great chef, I would recommend you to follow Instagram or open up your Instagram channel or YouTube channel for creating your equity as a budding chef. Similarly, if you are someone who wants to be a financial wizard, showcase your expertise in the more professional network sites such as LinkedIn. So yes, very resounding yes to your question. It does help, and employers always look you out virtually before they even think of calling you for any kind of say virtual or in-person interview. So that's a real booster for you.
Thank you. So we have answered all the questions raised by these attendees and participants. So the time came here to summarize the entire sessions. Yes, Avirupa, I am summarizing now. It's a very pleasure for us to get the presence of two great personalities, of course, one comparatively young, Mr. Sadhan Bhattacharya, and of course, the second, Dr. Pramod Kumar, but they are from the same field.
Right. I'm not 80-year-old.
No, no, sir. Because yes,
That's
you
okay.
are always we consider not as a president, but you are the mentor.
No, please go
I
on.
just
No, that's an lie to me.
okay. So Mr. Bhattacharya has given his thought process, some mantras. Let me conclude here that first he raised the challenges of academic curriculum, so which is through transformation, especially which we observed in last 3 decades. And his corporate mantra to the participants, the new generation students, those who have completed graduations, are aspiring to make their corporate careers. So now he has given a percentile breakup, 10%, 20%, 70%. So the sum equivalent to 100%. So you must understand what corporate means today, what kind of talents they need. You have to be troubleshooter. That means you have to be versatile. And similarly, you must understand the logic of corporate. Second, he has again addressed that is a robust academic curriculum. That is a responsible of us, the academia, the bid school. Truly, Dr. Kumar has mentioned the philosophy, the USP of entire ISB&M group. And we have successfully built up. And if you see our success in all corporates, in national and international, globally, you name any company, our corporates are there. Okay. Second, another challenge, what Mr. Bhattacharya has mentioned, that yes, COVID has recalibrated the rigor of modern MBA education. And transforming, this is the last challenge, and he has given you, it is not trade, transforming individual living from a comfort zone. So you have to come out from a comfort zone and you have to take the challenge to enter in corporate zone for your better career. And he mentioned that is called life skill. It may be communication, it may be negotiation, it may be any other skills. So coming to Dr. Pramod Kumar, of course, he is always versatile and he try to keep motivate. He's really a guru, like we can say. So he has rightly mentioned the business is always in competitiveness. You have to understand the competition and the talent cannot be finished. The talent always will be there. So it will be with a mention that is a proper measurement of your quality, your ability, your skills, your attitude. And it is very prompt. He has given an example, one Johnson & Johnson speaker with us. So it is very prompt, especially in pharma business, the competitiveness, whether it is a pharma consumer, whether it is ethical or medical devices. And he has given certain mantras in career guidelines for young talents. What good skills you should adopt, how to your fitness is corporate, and especially the learning model. 20 years back, what model was there? The model, exactly one question he was answering, whether it's the MBIT. This is obsoleted. So the curriculum is changing. And that is the versatility, the advantage of PGDPM, that is focus autonomous program. It is usually we call industry interface or industry academia blended programs. And he has also given a positive thought to young talents. So don't get panicky about COVID. Who will lose the job? Those who are below performer. If you have the capability, talent, so always you are in the limelight of your career upliftment, you will never lose a job. So here we conclude here. So once again, we extend our sincere gratitude to Mr. Sadhan Bhattacharya from entire ISB&M family. And of course, it's our pleasure to get a guidance from Dr. Pramod Kumar. He's always a motivator to us. And I especially thanks to my colleague, Ms. Abhirupa Bhaduri, is a brilliant faculty in the communication as well as media. Entire ISB&M team, our IT team, our admission team, marketing team, and my colleague, our Calcutta campus in charge, Professor Arpita Rai.
Thanks
So
to
thank
you
you.
also, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I request all the participants, those who have not received their certificate, will arrange. So we have already recorded the versions and we upload in the Facebook. Thank you. And we wish you everyone a happy weekend, safe time during COVID pandemic. Don't get unnecessarily by getting some rumors and panic. Have a nice time and
Thank
good
you all,
evening.
Sadhan. Pleasure meeting you. Like to stay connected with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pramod, Dr. Ghosh, Virupa, and all the students as participants today. It was a privilege to speak to you because at the end of the day, you are going to take the mantle forward. Stay agile, stay learnable all throughout.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we conclude
leave.
this webinar now. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Abhirupa.